All right, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Chapter 5 of Ryuho Okawa's The Laws of Salvation. And honestly, it paints this incredibly specific, genuinely fascinating picture of tomorrow. A place where faith, society, and hardcore scientific advancement absolutely collide. We're really digging into the core claims made in this text, and the paradigm it sets up it's bold. It argues that spiritual truths aren't just, quiet personal beliefs. No, they are the literal engines driving our societal and scientific evolution. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to look at the spiritual revolution currently happening in Japan, unpack the seeds of the future, talk about wielding words as weapons, and finally explore the fusion of science and faith. Let's do it. Section 1. The Spiritual Revolution in Japan. Okay, so this revolution, it is driven by something highly unconventional. We're talking about the mass publication of what the text calls spirit messages. These are framed as direct communications from historical figures, and they are specifically designed to challenge our modern political and social norms. It's essentially a deliberate, massive jolt to contemporary society. And just to put the sheer scale of this effort into perspective, in the year 2010 alone, the organization published over 40 of these spirit message books. 40! That is practically one a week. They were recorded publicly, turned into books basically overnight, and heavily advertised, so they literally couldn't be ignored. Now, the author totally acknowledges the massive risk involved here. He actually calls it a real fight, staking credibility. By loudly proclaiming that the spirit world exists right here, right now, the organization is essentially putting its entire reputation on the line, all in an attempt to awaken the public. Moving right along, Section 2, Seeds of the Future and a Correct View of Life. According to the text, everything starts with getting your view of life straight. To really grasp this, you have to shed the false self, the version of you that's tied strictly to the material world. Instead, you need to realize that your true identity is a spiritual entity, a soul. You're just temporarily hanging out in a physical body. And honestly, that distinction, it's the absolute bedrock of this entire philosophy. So, by embracing this truth, the book claims you internalize the seeds of the future. Once that happens, your actions aren't just about your current 80-odd years on Earth anymore. They become actual, tangible investments in your eternal progression and, frankly, in the whole future of human society. Section 3. Fighting with words as weapons. Now, this is where things get really interesting. There is a hard line drawn against violent conflict in this text. Physical weapons, they just destroy lives and ruin the environment. Instead, what's being called for is a kind of ideological warfare. The idea is to use only words of truth to actually build the future and spread faith. But how do you actually wield these words in daily life? Well, the text says it takes profound courage. It means standing up and speaking spiritual truths in completely secular workplaces. It means challenging modern political common sense and just confidently asserting that truth is truth, even when it completely defies what society considers normal. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Science as an Extension of Faith. Ever since the days of Copernicus and Galileo, science and religion have basically been viewed as total opposites, right? Hostile forces. But the argument here is that modern science and medicine are actually hitting a wall. And the claim is that the only way forward, the only way to break through, is for science and religion to finally fuse together. To bridge that gap, the text points to Einstein's famous formula E equals mc squared. It argues that showing physical matter and invisible energy as interchangeable is actually a massive hint at unseen spiritual realities. It's used as a way to explain how physical substance literally emerges from divine thought. Mind-blowing, right? So it all comes down to a fundamental clash of paradigms. On one side, you have traditional scientific materialism, which just assumes physical matter is all there is, a strict dividing line between mind and matter. But on the other side, in a science rooted in faith, spirit and matter are completely deeply connected. We're talking about a paradigm where the very thoughts of God or Buddha literally create stars and biological life. And this whole argument leads right to the core thesis of the chapter. Future science is on the extension line of faith. The idea is that true, groundbreaking scientific advancement in the future is simply an extension of deep spiritual faith. Embracing this spiritual reality is framed as the absolute key to unlocking humanity's next massive leap forward. So, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If our core essence really is spiritual, and if our words are our primary weapons for shaping reality, what kind of future will your words create?